All right, a unique Chicago Bears mock draft, all 6 potential trade partners and what that would look like in a mock draft. It's a unique approach. I don't do a mock draft unless there's something I feel like I can share, a point I can get across, or something of value that I can share on this podcast. So I hope that resonates. I hope this is one of those where I hope the thoughts that I have can come together through this. I won't spend too much time explaining that. Let's get right into it because I think there is something unique here that I can share with you guys. So Chicago Bears, 6 potential trade partners mock draft. So first off, here are the 6 that you hear the most about. These aren't necessarily the 6 that I think would happen, but these are the 6 you hear the most about. Number 1, taking Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick, not trading it. Number 2, trading with the Commanders for the number 2 overall pick. Number 3, trading with the Patriots for the number 3 pick. Number 4, trading with the Giants for number 6. Number 5, trading with the Falcons for number 8. Trading with the Raiders for number 13 is the 6th option. All right, here's what that would entail in each of those scenarios. And this is based off of rumors and accelerated value and increased value of where things are at right now. So number 1, if we take Caleb Williams with our own pick, we're not getting any trade value. There's nothing we get out of that. It's just number 1, we get Caleb Williams. That's what it is. Number 2, trading with the Commanders, we get 1-2, we get 234, we get our own pick back, 241, and a future first-round pick. Okay, and a similar value, if we're looking at the Patriots, would be 1-3, 235, 367. So first, second, third rounders this year, first rounder next year, and a third-round pick in 2026. All right, if we're going with the Giants at number 6, we're going to get a first rounder this year, second rounder, their second rounder that they got from the Seahawks, and 2 future first-round picks. All right, if we're going down to the Falcons at number 8, we're getting a first, second, and third rounder this year, 8, 40, and 72, a first rounder next year, second rounder next year, and a first rounder in 2026. That brings all of these values to be similar values and what we call a haul, and what everyone has been reporting Ryan Poles expects to get out of this draft pick. They might not be referencing these exact values, but when they're talking about a haul, this is what that haul would be. And number 6, finally, trading with the Raiders, going all the way down from number 1 down to number 13 for 113, 247, 377, first, second, third rounders this year, and first and second rounders for the next 2 years. So they're giving up a true generational haul to be able to come up from 13 to 1. All right, and this is the true point of what I wanted to do with this mock draft. Number 1, it won't happen. Primarily because Ryan Poles is happy with Justin Fields. He is a true leader. The locker room is around him. Matt Eberflus has shown that he wants him. Ryan Poles has shown that he wants him. The team shows that they want him. And he's improved every single year. I've shown that extensively on this channel. I use the same slide over and over again, but it's true. He has improved in every metric they've asked him to. Number 2, Bears need the draft capital to continue to rebuild. They're in a unique situation where they've had the number 1 overall pick the last 2 years, and they can come out of a dire situation they were in with a very decimated team. After these last 2 years of trading down the number 1 pick, they are in a position where they accelerated that rebuild from being a half a decade rebuild to being a couple years rebuild. That's huge. And number 3, it takes us out of an elite wide receiver. I see so many people that are saying we need to take Caleb Williams that think we're going to get Rome Odunze at number 9. That's not going to happen. Rome Odunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Malik Neighbors will all be gone in the top 8. They'll all be gone. Guaranteed. All right, number 2, trading with the Commanders. I'm going to give this a 75% chance of happening. This is what I truly believe is going to happen. Number 1, it fulfills all the Bears' needs. It trades down and gives them additional draft capital while giving them control of the entire draft of the player that they want to choose. They get to choose whichever wide receiver they want. And the Commander situation is just too ideal with everything we've already talked about with Cliff Kingsbury, with new ownership there, with their biggest need being a quarterback, for them to have to start their rebuild that way and the salary cap space they have to build around that quarterback, it's just ideal. It's just a matter of whether or not Commanders will play ball, whether they'll play chicken and try to get a decreased value for it, or whether they will come in and say, you know what, this is what the price we need to pay in this year's draft. We need to overpay, and this is what's going to happen. So it's just whether they play ball. Number 3, trading with the Patriots for number 3. I give this a 15% chance of happening. If the Commanders play chicken and won't drive the proper value, this could happen. Number 2, usually I don't see the Patriots as a trade partner. They aren't known for trading up, but it is a new regime. They might want to make a splash. I just don't see them being willing to give the value with all the needs that they have to rebuild as well. I don't see them giving up that draft capital. So that's not a realistic take of what I think will happen. I really think that ideal trade partner is number 2. All right, at number 4, the Giants, the same scenario, but they also have the increased aspect that Daniel Jones' contract is extremely large and the extreme amount of need they have everywhere else. But Daniel Jones really didn't play horribly. He's not like the Commanders situation or the Falcons situation where they have to have a quarterback this year. The Giants can ride that out and build other pieces around it, kind of like the Bears need to. And so I don't see the Giants trading up. I give that a 5% chance. And then last here, number 5, trading with the Falcons for number 8. I give that a 5% chance of happening. It's just too far down to get one of the big 3 receivers. So the only way I see this happening is if Poles can trade back up. And that kind of wastes the essence of that draft capital that we're picking up by trading down. So I don't see this one happening as well. And number 6 won't happen. Luke Getsy isn't equipped to work with a rookie. That's part of the reason they brought him in, is because they have one Aiden O'Connell, but they've already kind of given up on him. But they have Jimmy Garoppolo still. And I don't see them getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. I really don't. And if they do anything else, I think they'll bring in a veteran, because that's all Getsy is good to work with at this point. And I think they see that, and that's what they're going to work with. And trading down to 13 takes us out of prime blue chip range. We don't get those prime talent unless we trade back up again. So that's why I see the really only option is going to be number 2, unless they play chicken with us, unless they really try to drag it out. But I don't see that happening because of their new ownership and because they do need to make a splash. So I see number 2 happening. So really, this is what I want to show in this mock draft scenario. I want you guys to see the reality of who we're going to trade with, because everyone says, well, if Poles is putting that out there and he's saying he needs to get a haul, it's got to go down farther than 2. It doesn't have to go down farther than 2 to get a haul. That's still a haul. At number 2, 1, 2, 234, 241, and a future first-round pick. And the reason the Commanders do that is they're not giving that much up to secure they get the quarterback that they want, their hometown boy in Caleb Williams. They still have 2/3 this year as well, and the rest of their normal picks, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. They still have all that. So they're getting their first-round pick, 2/3, 4th, 5th. They've still got an entire normal draft. They're just giving up those second-round picks and a future first. Yes, it's a lot, but it secures them their future, and they have a ton of cap space. They have the most cap space to be able to go out and get the rest of the pieces they need to build around. All right, so this really is what I see the Bears doing. I see this being what happens, but I'm also going to add a little scenario in here where I see a little extra caveat. I'm getting more and more comfortable with it the more and more I toy around with it, that I really do think Ryan Poles wants to get that offensive line solidified. He sees the weakness in it. He's seen all the metrics. So I think the Bears are going to trade down from 1-9. I didn't think that before. In the beginning of my videos a month ago, 2 months ago, I said we take an edge because we've already paid for one edge. But that's not necessarily the main reason why you need to take an edge this year. Next year's edge class is already being touted as one of the strongest edge classes. This year's edge class is all right. It's good. It's solid, but it's not elite. Next year's edge class is already being considered elite. Okay, so that's going to be one of the strengths of next year's edge class. If we trade down with Washington and get a first, we trade down with the Steelers and get a first, we have 3 first-round picks. We can use one of those on an edge. We have DeMarcus Walker. He is a great complementary role player. We can still draft an edge in this class. Just doesn't have to be in the first round. If we're getting 2 second-rounders, we can get an edge and still have DeMarcus Walker giving us security. So there's a lot of strength there in that concept. So I see us trading with the Steelers for their 1st, 3rd, 6th, and a future first. Very, very similar value from when the Bears traded up from 20 to 11 to get a quarterback. And the Steelers have several needs. They could be trading up for a quarterback. They could be trading up for a tackle. Or more likely, they can be trading up to get the number 1 cornerback in this class. They are cornerback needy. And if they want to jump up and get Cooper DeJean or whoever, Kool-Aid McKinstry, whoever ends up being the first cornerback, they're going to be able to jump up and get that guy that they want. And there are some really high-end top cornerbacks in this class. So it could be a quarterback, could be a cornerback. Who knows? So there's the scenario we lay out. We've got all those picks before, so I'm not going to run through all those, but we have 2 firsts next year and the 2nd from Carolina. The Bears are in a great position. This is what we're talking about. The Bears are in a great position to be able to build for the future and capitalize on the now. It's all of the above. With 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, you're going to get some quality players in there. You should have 5 or 6 starters you can pull out of those first 2 days, rounds 1, 2, and 3. There's also players like running backs that you can get in round 4 or 5 that can be very valuable as well, or linemen, backup swing tackles, backup guards or centers. There's value in this, but you have to have those high-value draft picks to be able to rebuild your team for the future. That's what we're doing with this one. All right, the rest of this we'll run through fairly quickly. Our free agency didn't change. I'm really liking these 4 guys for the value they bring. Curtis Samuel, slot, Xavier McKinney, safety. And you're going to do this before the draft. So you'll see in here there is a little surprise, but I left it because you pick up your free agents kind of having an idea of what you're going to go into the draft doing. But then when the draft presents itself, things can always change. Okay, so we've got this going on. We start, no shock here. Everyone shouldn't be shocked at this point. I really do feel this is exactly what the Bears need to do. So, no, I'm not going to come off of it. Some of you are complaining that I draft Marvin Harrison Jr. too often with our first pick. Well, that's what I think is going to happen. So after we've traded down, no matter what, we're going to pick up Jackson Powers Johnson. I've already explained thoroughly to you guys. I really believe he is too elite to pass up on. We have to snag him. So maybe we can't draft all the way down to 20. We might have to draft a little bit, trade a little bit higher with someone. We get him. All right, with 34, we don't expect Tyler Nubin to be there. Tyler Nubin, to me, is the #1 safety in this class. Some of you might not agree with that. You might think it's Cam Kitchens. You might think it's someone else. I really believe Tyler Nubin, from the look that I've got from him, is the #1 safety in this entire class. Let's go back to him for just a second. 40.2 quarterback passer rating when targeted. That's a huge metric for me when I'm doing my analyzation. And yes, I think that will translate. His height, his weight, that can be a concern as he goes to the NFL. But with the way he carries himself and the speed that he has, that 4.6 40 doesn't tell the entire picture. He plays solid coverage. His coverage grade is 90% down there. I really like Tyler Nubin. If we have a chance to snag him, I don't see Ryan Poles passing up on him. All right, you guys know my love for Darius Robinson. I've been infatuated with him all year. He's one of the first videos I made. He's climbing boards. Is he a polished NFL-ready starter? I don't think so. I really don't. But he's got the size. He's got the measurables. He's got everything to be that as he's coached up. And then Cade Stover. We're going to take him with our 73rd pick. You guys know how I feel about Cade Stover. To me, one of the most elite tight ends in this class. He's going to be amazing value with the 3rd-round pick. All right, with our 84th pick, we're going to pick Zach Zinter. I'm going back to Zach Zinter. Yes, he had the injury. Yes, he's still going to be healing, but they talk about his injury timeline now. Like they say it's going to be a 3-month injury return. So he's going to be healthy by spring. So I don't know if it's too crazy concerning. He did break his tibia and fibia. They air casted it. He wasn't able to play in the conference champ or in the semifinal championship game or any of it. He wasn't able to play in any of that. He was a huge inspiration in the locker room, though, which I like hearing about. A hoorah guy, a guy that really rallies the troops. So is that really a concern? Well, I think it's going to drop him a little bit, but I think he's going to stay right where he was projected, right in that 3rd-round range. So I like the Bears taking him there. All right, we're going to get a little trade down. This is Poles' MO, get a little more value. So we're going to trade down from 4, 111. We're going to get 119 and 154, get an extra pick in this draft because that's how he wants to build. He wants to build brick by brick and through the draft. So we're trading down from 111. We're getting 119 and 154. With 119, we're going to pick Audric Estime. I like him, guys. I know you don't all love him, but he's a strong rusher, and he breaks tackles. And the Bears need one of those hard-nosed runners right through the middle that's going to break tackles. 5'11", 227 pounds. He's a bruiser. I like him. All right, with 124, Joe Milton III. He may not go this high, but I think the Bears want to develop a quarterback to go along with their current situation. I know he's not polished. I know he would be 3rd string. He's probably going to be on the practice squad most of the year, but that's where you want someone like this that has such high upside but needs to be developed. All right, at 145, we're going to double dip with the Michigan lineman, which can have its own little perk there. I don't think Drake Nugent is the most polished prospect. I don't think he would be a starter, but I'm double dipping. You know I already picked Jackson Powers Johnson. He's a backup, but we need such depth that I think this is a solid play for the Bears to go after a guard, a center, and another center, or a center guard, another center. And I like this. Drake Nugent, Zach Zinter, they already played together in college. There's some continuity there, and he is a solid pass and run blocking center. He can play both, but to be a center, back up to Jackson Powers Johnson. I really like that play of drafting two of them. I think that's a really smart thing, and I'm liking playing around with that more and more. So I think that could be something happens if we acquire more draft capital. That's the key to this one. We got to acquire more draft capital. All right, at 154, we get our swing tackle. Walter Rouse is a guy that I've been talking about a little bit more. He does need to be polished, but he only allowed 5 sack hits or hurries this last year, which was one of the best in college football. So he's going to protect our quarterback, which is something huge that I want and need. All right, with 198, with our trade down with Pittsburgh, we're going to get Hayden Hatton, who might be the wild card of this draft. He might get picked before this, but there's a lot of upside to Hayden Hatton. He was small school, Idaho Vandals, so there's a lot of questionables, whether teams can trust him or not. He's not the quickest, and he also doesn't have the biggest measurables. His wingspan, his arms, his hands, they're not the biggest, but he just has a way of playing. If you watched him in some of the preseason or the pre-bowl games, practices and stuff like that, he was standing out. And with guys like that, you have to take notice. So this is kind of a flyer, but we do need depth in the wide receiver room, so I like taking Hayden Hatton in that 6th round with the extra pick that we got. All right, so here's our salary cap. We're picking up Jalen Johnson's not 5th year. What do we call that? We call that the franchise tag. Sorry, brain fart, guys. Picking up Derrick Henry in free agency, Xavier McKinney in free agency, Curtis Samuel in free agency, Dylan Cole with a league minimum deal, Mercedes Lewis with a league minimum deal, Maurice Hurst is kind of a flyer, trying to see if he can have a prove-it deal. Cameron Lyons is the other thing that I didn't mention before, but we've already signed him to a future contract. If we're looking to save a little bit of money and he's a decent long snapper, we're resetting the clock there. No big deal. All right, with that in the draft pool, we're doing Ryan Poles' MO. We're saving money, and we're still building towards the future. Here's our offense. All right, so the boxes are the things that we have to address. Joe Milton wasn't a have to, but it was a we're going to do this because we want to start developing quarterbacks for the future. We didn't have to go get 2 running backs, but we did cut Travis Homer, signed Derrick Henry, got Audric Estime. Cade Stover, Mercedes Lewis, Marvin Harrison Jr., Curtis Samuel, Hayden Hatton, Walter Rouse, Drake Nugent. You see that with that, we get rid of Jatiri Carter, which I think is way overdue. Zach Zinter, Jackson Powers Johnson, young, but if Nate Davis doesn't prove himself, this is going to be a great year for those guys to get experience rotating in. All right, on defense, we got Xavier McKinney. See, we didn't need 2 safeties, but we're going to be able to have Quentin Johnson go to the practice squad or cut him because now we have depth there. That is one of the most elite secondaries I've seen in the league. I really believe Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon with Terrell Smith backing them up, Xavier McKinney and Jaquan Brisker with Tyler Newman as a rookie, a 2nd rounder that's going to be rotating in. That is an elite secondary. All right, Darius Robinson with the idea of next year we can go out and we can draft in the 1st round a defensive end. Maurice Hurst as a prove-it deal with Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens, still on their 2nd year of their contract with a lot of room to improve. Dylan Cole coming back at linebacker. All right, there's our team. All right, let me know what you think, guys. The whole basis of this was to see all 6 potential trade partners. And as we explained in this, I really, really do see number 2 being the only viable option of what happens. The only hiccup is if the Commanders try to play hardball and try to play chicken. Then we end up trading with the Patriots or the Falcons and doing something the Bears don't want to do. But in the end, Ryan Poles wants that value right there. He wants the generational haul. He knows where this team needs to go, and he knows the value of that number 1 pick, and that doesn't come around every year. Even though the Bears have gotten it 2 years in a row, that doesn't come around every year. So he's going to milk that value. He's going to milk it so the Bears get a future out of it. And that's why I see this happening. He doesn't want to go past the 1st tier of wide receivers. He sees the value of exactly what we need. We need someone to pair up with DJ Moore. We've gone over in the other video how horrible our wide receiver room has been for the last decade, how really bad it's been, even longer than that. So he sees the value there. We need to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Rome Odunze. We need that. But if teams are going to play hardball, Ryan Poles knows the deal. And just like he said last year, no one's going to push him into a situation where he has to make the trade at a certain deadline or he has to take a deal he doesn't want. He controls this draft and the trade. He is on the clock with #1 overall pick, and he has the ability to make this Chicago's future for the next half a decade to decade to come, to rebuild this team to be a dynasty. And that's what I expect out of him now, and that's what I see happening. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, I only try to bring you these things if there's something that I feel like I can express or share through them. So if you did like it, if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Helps with all those algorithm typey thingies. If you haven't subscribed, why haven't you? Please do so. Push that little button, hit the bell notification so that you can see when I have some stuff to share with you guys. Share it with your friends if you want to. Until next time, I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Hope you have a great Super Bowl Sunday. I'm probably going to take the next little bit off, but I hope you guys enjoy it. And very, very soon, things are going to start shifting and changing for the Chicago Bears. You're going to start seeing the moves happen. You're going to start seeing Ryan Poles with his hat on doing his deal. So until next time, thanks for being here. Bear down.